This episode is ad-free on the Patreon. So if you want to partake in that, you can head on over to patreon.com/reality tea times 2. Hi everyone. So I have a new product for you to take part in. This is for J Armor wallets. Now you can get these wallets for a pretty good price. Partially, it seems at this point, partially American made, but they're going to be planning to be completely American made by the year 2027. The fun part is that you can actually see what new wallet styles are going to be coming in 2026. So a little bit about the company. The company was founded by Jake Hernandez, who is also a part of the U.S. Air Force veteran, or he is a U.S. Air Force veteran. So with his business, he is also supporting charities like anti-child labor organizations, veteran support programs, and efforts to rebuild American manufacturing. So this is clearly something that is very important to him, and honestly, really important to me as well. And for going to the link in the show notes, which I will say what that link is in a minute, but going to the link in the show notes not only helps support this podcast, but is also helping to support J Armor as well as helping support the charities that he finds near and dear to him. So if you go to the show notes and you find that link, the link is jarmorwallets.com/reality times 2. So that is j-armorwallets.com/reality So I hope you go on and support not only me, but as well as this company. Now, that's enough of me. Let's go back to the episode. Welcome to Reality Tea Times 2, the podcast where we discuss all the trash reality TV we love to hate. I'm Tanika. And today we're going to be doing the final episode for Secret Lives, Those Mormon Wives, the reunion. Let's jump in, y'all. Come ye saints and come ye sinners. Okay, so thank the Lord because the dads hate Brett too. Welcome to the team, y'all. Brett says, okay, first of all, before I finish this, I know the drama. I know about Fruity Pebbles. I know about the peeing and all this shit. I know it all. And I hate it too. Let's continue. Brett says, listen, my issues with everyone was the victim blaming on Demi. Because, woe is me. But Jordan is like, can we agree she flirted with Marciano? Can we do that? No, she didn't. The fuck she didn't. Yes, she fucking did. You don't have to be fucking delusional to see the fact that this girl is fucking manipulative. You know what I mean? Zach is like, okay, so you're okay with your wife talking to some guy like that? Talking about scum and oysters and shit? You're okay with that? And Brett is being a jerk. Like, it's to the point where, listen, Brett, I hate you even more if you're making me fucking feel bad for Zach. Because I felt bad for Zach. He's calling Zach names, talking down to him. He might as well just call him Gary Busey at this point. Because, like, shit. And I'm just like, listen, I felt bad for him. Like, I actually wanted to, like, protect Zach. I hate you, Brett. Like, how dare you make me feel bad for him? Anyways, even when they try to de-escalate, Brett just wants to keep yapping and yapping and yapping, saying his shit. And I'm just like, shut the fuck up, please. Anyways, so we have a new host. It's Stassi. I don't fucking know shit about this woman. I don't know who the fuck she is. I've heard her name. Trust me, but like that's all I know. I think she on Vanderpump. I know this. I know that much. I know nothing more. I didn't like her. I didn't like her as a host. Like I said, I don't know anything about her, but I don't like her as a host. I want Nick back. I never thought I would say those words, but I want Nick back. And you know what? I feel like Nick's not here because people like Whitney, which by the way, you know what? Whitney, killing it. I'm proud of her. Okay, I am. I'm proud of her. I'm proud of her for being on Chicago, playing Roxy. I'm proud of her for having her movie. I'm proud of her. I'm proud of her. But if she's the reason Nick's not here, I'm gonna be really upset. But anyways, we talk labor, baby names because Jen had her baby, Michaela had her baby, and we asked Jen like, "How are you postpartum?" She gets emotional at this because obviously she went through a lot of prepartum depression, something that is just not talked about, I don't think at all. Um, I don't think there's a lot of knowledge around it. So she gets very emotional at this and she says, my daughter Penny, cutest name ever. She says she's the sweetest and I don't know if I'm putting this in my own words here, but I feel like she does say like she she saved her, she helped get her through a really, really rough time. And okay. So Dad Talk is still going in the background because apparently this is about them. Listen, this reunion wasn't horrible, but it wasn't good. And I didn't like the focus on Dad Talk. And wait for it, there's gonna be more. I didn't like the focus on Dad Talk because I'm like, this isn't fucking about Dad Talk. So trying to make Dad Talk happen. This is about Mom Talk. This is about the women. I don't give a fuck about Brett or Jordan or Zach really or any of them. Really and truly, the only people I do care about is Jace and Jacob. I don't give a fuck about any of the other guys. You know what I mean? Anyways, they're still going. And Zach is like, listen, I looked up to you and I came to you. Cry me a fucking river. Anyways, Brett says, I'm sorry, like I didn't know how bad it was with Jen. Let's talk it out. Can we go back to the women, please? Anyways, now we talk to me. She says, I realized I was self-sabotaging and manipulative bitch, but I'm happy to be here. I didn't have to go to Disney World this time. Yeah. So let's cut to the chase. Oh, Chase. Chase, that is. The actual Chase. He is our Dunkin' bartender. Because apparently that's a fucking thing now. It's weird. We got questions for him. So let's talk about the date after, with Taylor, which was, it was, nothing clearly is happening here. But anyways, let's talk about the date. And he says, I'm usually next to her. What? Anyways, Taylor says I didn't know it was a date. And neither did we. I think the only person who knew it was a date was Chase. But Miranda says, I heard it was an apology. Some details were clearly left out. And I can understand Miranda feeling uncomfortable here because, listen, the swinging happened. She thought things more were happening between Taylor and Chase. I can understand the uncomfortability with this. It's inappropriate, really. Some days were left out. Where do you guys go from here? Well, see, I don't know. I guess we will see that unfold in season 4 because they are not talking about it. Let's continue. We start a drinking game. Drink every time someone says accountability. In this particular clip, I think it says like 50,000 times. So you have alcohol poisoning. We talk the friendship healing group thing that they did, here's the Barbie's head or something, and you talk when you have the Barbie's head. Anyways, It went well. It went great. Great. That's it. Anyway, let's bring out dad talk because dad talk is a thing here that we're going to talk about. Apparently, Villa happened again. That dad talk was there this time. Um, Apparently it was spicy. Tune into Villa because we can't talk about it. Why are we here? Ah, okay. Next week, bring out Mason, Chase's brother. In case you don't remember, him and Layla are officially together now. Cool. Good for you. We talk about Michaela and Jay. This is my phone autocorrected to Jax. Jace's issues. She says everything is still fresh, and Jace says she's handling things better than me. And Stassi asks, like, have things improved? And she says, I haven't felt like I have had my body with my health issues and then the baby. And after the baby, those health issues kind of came back full force again. And Jessie gets emotional and she says, I have been in therapy for me and Jordan. And this is the spoiler alert, trigger warning for abuse for what we're about to get into here. So she says that she was raped when she was 19. But when those issues came to the surface for her, it made things worse for her and Jordan. She says she doesn't want him to touch her, which is totally understandable. Connor gets emotional while listening to this because if we remember from the last reunion, he was very candid about his abuse. Um, he says that I get it, and I've been there. It's hard to change your thought process because, like, how it's not an easy thing to do. I can only imagine. He's like, you want to be hypersexual, but it's hard because that's been like that side of you has been robbed, you know? He's like, you may think you there is sorry, thinking there is no intimacy, but you're being there for your partners is intimacy. Like you're having it. And then to me is emotional because we're just having a, emotional circle here about everyone's trauma. And I don't want to discredit Demi's trauma. Uh, and we'll get to it. I think she has been through things that are legitimate. It's just the Marciano stuff. I don't know, man. But anyways, it doesn't matter. Demi's emotional. She says it has brought things up to the surface, saying it's so hard that we are all in a room where we have all been through this. And that is, you know what? That is very true. It is really difficult to see not just our women here, but some of our men have dealt with sexual trauma. I mean, think about it. I'm going to point it for you all here. Then we have Tough Maybe here. Jesse has just come out with something. Michaela, um, Macy, Taylor has had things happen. I don't know about sexual trauma, but she's had trauma. Demi has had trauma. Whitney has had trauma. Layla has had trauma. Connor has had trauma. And that trickles into other facets of their lives. It's actually like it's really sad. It's really sad to see that. These it's really sad. She said, I know that what I went through wasn't nearly the same, but being called a liar is so tough. Which I will have to say, good for her recognizing that her trauma is not the same as others. And that is not to discredit your trauma. Your trauma is your trauma, and it's bad no matter what. It should never happen. But here's the thing, and I've been candid about it, especially on Patreon. I have had things happen to me where I have given consent and had to take it away and it not be respected. Ultimately, it's hard for me to say the words, but I have been raped. That is considered rape, and that isn't the same. I would never compare what I went through to what I know others have been through. And I can't compare those things to what I've been through. Um, I've been in scary situations that I don't know, like, if someone wasn't there to protect me, what would have happened? We've all been through shit, unfortunately, as women. It's sad to say, but there's, I think, more of us that have had sexual trauma, whatever that may be, than haven't. And to me is no exception to that rule. But I think what she doesn't understand and where it is very confusing is I've, well, I'm gonna put this in perspective a little bit for me and for the audience. To me, just say here, and we've heard her say it, that just because I continue talking to Marciano does not mean I wasn't, you know, had sexual assault, which is understandable. I think people get confused with her involving her child into all of this, which is also understandable. But when I think back to the one particular person that I'm thinking about, where he definitely raped me, I never, I can't say that I didn't sleep with him again. I did. I did. Even though he did that to me. And I don't know why I did. And I can't explain why I did it. But I did. It never happened again, but I did. Why? I, at my young age, at 21 or whatever, 21, I can't explain that. I know now at 34, I never would have spoken to him again. And it wasn't that experience that stopped me. It was something else that happened that eventually was the last straw for me. And I never slept with him again. Again, I can't say that I never not spoke to him again. I did. And again, I don't know why. Not really. But that last time I spoke to him, which was in the summer of 2015, I had just recently gotten married. Of course, nothing happened, but that was the last time that I spoke to him, and I haven't spoken to him in almost 11 years. And now, if he were to ever be in my life or try to be in my life, I would never let him in. But then, why didn't I let him go? So, as much as I hate Demi, and I think she is a manipulative bitch, and I do think that she can shape narratives to her liking, I can understand her when she says, but these things can happen. That does not mean that this didn't. I can't understand her on that. Do I know if that's her reality? No, I don't. Do I trust that that's her reality? I want to, because I want to believe us as women, but who knows? That's just, I had to say that. Anyway, then we bring up Brett and we move on to Marciano. And Jesse says, listen, it could have been anyone. I didn't feel appreciated at home. He's basically saying, yeah, that was Marciano, but it could have been any man, really. She's like, I do regret the cheating. I wish that I just left Jordan at that time because clearly she wasn't happy. But her and Jordan are in therapy. There have been setbacks due to, I think, the things that she just spoke about. Um, but she is hopeful that things can be there in a genuine way. He says that he feels proud of his changes, not just for Jesse, but for him. Then we hear an extended phone call with Jesse and Marciano where he says, I think we had sex. And Jesse says, I had feelings for you. And Marciano says, how about you telling me you love me and that you would leave him? I'm sorry, what the fuck? We do know this. They did talk about this in the episode. But yeah, she admits that, and that's the end of the conversation. Jordan says, I feel a little triggered here. Fair enough. We talk about the lie detector, and we do talk about the inconclusive answers that were given. Jesse says, well, in my head, I was having an internal struggle because we would touch his arm, you know? So I guess in her mind, she's thinking, sexual touch, is that considered sexual touch? And because of that, it made the answer inclusive. It also showed that lie detectors are just not reliable sources. But anyways, Brett asks how he talks. How do we take anything he says as credible, meaning Marciano, which I think is a fair assessment, mind you. And they admit, no, we don't. We never claim to. We know that he talks in riddles. And to me says, I think I kept things going because, of a trauma response, which potentially, and Zach says, listen, there are things he doubles down on, like kissing when leaving. Demi says, no, like that didn't happen. And Jen is like, it happened off camera. My question to Jen is, how do you know? Because now I'm starting to question things. I'm not saying that didn't happen. I think in a world it could have. But my question to Jen so much more so is, how do you know? Now, I know Miss Vanderpump has come out with video footage being like, to me, better shut the fuck up kind of situation. I understand that. And that is who I believe in all this. It's Lisa Vanderpump. So, but yeah, I do question Jen of how do you know unless you were there or you potentially saw these tapes or something. I don't know. To me, it's like, did you see it? As I said, and she says no. She's like, well then, and Jen has to fan because when asked why didn't you want this out, to me is like because of the shit I went through. I mean, I can't again believe in a world that she may not have wanted any of this out. I do. I do. As women, you don't want to talk about these things. It's hard. And I think part of the Me Too movement is us as women coming forward and talking about our experiences, as hard as that may be. So I can't believe she just didn't want to talk about it yet, or ever. And I do get that if it's real. But she's like, you haven't been sexually assaulted, so you don't understand. This is what Demi says to Jen. Listen, I would never, ever say that to another woman because, as I just said earlier, unfortunately, most of us have endured some form of sexual assault, no matter what it is, then we haven't. So I am not going to assume that you as a woman potentially never dealt with something. I'm just not going to do that. And lo and behold, Jen does say, actually, I have. I just haven't talked about it. Damn. Damn. Again, Demi, foot in fucking mouth. So we talk Jesse and Demi, and Jesse's like, I'm just uncomfortable. And Demi is like, I'm confused. And Zach is like, we're just trying to understand. And there goes Demi comparing her situation to Macy's after she literally said before, like, I know I haven't been through the same thing as the rest of you have, but that you want to compare your situation with Macy's. There's no comparison here. We don't need to compare. But again, if you want to compare because you want to make this a competition or something, I don't know. Macy wins. Macy and Michaela. They both fucking win. The worst trauma, sexual trauma one can experience. And it's just, you did not go through the same thing Macy did. Macy's situation, by the sounds of things, was life or death. You don't, you just don't get to compare or even, like, they're not the same. And Jessie is like, no, it's not the same. She was actually in a relationship with this person. She couldn't escape her abuser. You could have. You didn't have to continue talking to him. And I think that is the part. See, for me, in the situation I just talked about, yeah, I could have stopped talking to him. Yeah, I could have done all that. But again, the man did know where I lived. He had my number. He could have unblocked, blocked himself and be able to break through. This was a person that I had known at that time for 3, 4 years. I dated him when I was 17 for about a year, and we were off and on after that. This was a person, like I said again, who was part of my life from the age of 17 until the age of 24. Um, that's the last time I saw him when I was 24. And, he was a boyfriend. Now, he didn't abuse me in the way that Macy's abuser abused her, but, there was that situation of just not respecting my cues. And that's the difference. He was a manipulative jerk. He was a narcissist. He was all of those things, but he was dangerous, really. You know, I could have left if I wanted to leave and not talk to him ever again. And I didn't though, but I could have. That wasn't Macy's journey though. Macy actually lived with this person. She actually was in an abusive relationship. And it's just not the same fucking thing. So, yeah, they say, she was in a relationship. You knew him for 2 days. But Jen says, you bullied me. And Jimmy's like, how? How did I bully you? No, you did bully her. You did. Last season, we saw it. The same way you had to bully Taylor. The same way you were bullying Whitney in the first season. You are a bully. And just own it, I guess. So we have another guest. Take a guess who this fucking person is because our guest wants all of Mom Talk off the stage. Who do you think that could be? We'll get to that in a second, because I do want to bring this up. When Stassi says we have this guest, he doesn't want any of the women here. So, Layla, Macy, Michaela, Demi, Whitney, Taylor. Did I miss anybody? Jen, Jesse, did I say Jesse? Whatever. All of you, get the fuck off the stage. Why'd you have to name them all? Just say, hey, women, get the fuck off. So that our guest can feel safe and comfy. Because fuck that. Because again, take a while, because like I said, it's fucking Dakota. So while backstage to me is like breaking down because no one believes me at this point. So I wish something did happen because this is ruining my reputation. So wait, you're wishing that more of a sexual assault, more physical, happens so that you could be believed? How about you just say, I wish this never happened so I never had to say it in the first place? How about that? What? No one wishes. Listen, I only talked about that one situation that I brought up. It wasn't the only one that I've been through. But I wish those things never happened to me so that I wouldn't have had to deal with it or process those things or, you know, in so many ways blame myself for putting myself in those situations. I wouldn't ever want to be in them. If I had a magic lamp, I would be like, take me out of that situation. I wish those things never happened to me because that's something I have to live with for the rest of my life. Something that when I have kids, especially when I have daughters, I'm going to worry that they're going to go through the things I went through or anyone else that I've known has gone through. You know, like it's No one wishes for that shit to happen to them. I'm very confused by her. Anyways, before I get emotional at that, um, she cries to an executive producer and says, I want to go home. Go home. Or go to Disney World. I'm sure they have an opening for you. Like, really? Anyways, okay, so let's bring out this fucking guy. Dakota's here because he can't have women speaking their mind and calling him out because, oh, women. Those outspoken women. Hey, this guy, he needs to be coddled. So, Dakota, why can't you be on stage with Mom Talk when it's their stage? Dakota says, it was more dramatic. I just wanted to have a good conversation, and I think we understand we can't do that when Taylor and I are on the stage together. Fair enough, but who gives a fuck? Okay? Anyways, so what happened with the family friend, whose name I think I said was like Emma or something? I think her name was exposed, but I'm going to keep on calling her Mrs. Robinson because it fits for me. So, what about Mrs. Robinson? So he says, it was 2 years ago. You were together, maybe 10 months, him and Taylor. We had broken up, and this lady, Mrs. Robinson, was just checking up on me. She was being nice. We talked about the relationship. He's like, let me think about step by step. No, the fuck? You don't think about anything. If it's the truth, it's the truth. There's nothing to think about. He says, all of a sudden, she just came on to me. I didn't know that would happen. What about the pictures? And he's like, were a bunch of pictures sent, but she only sent one. So wait, there's a bunch of pictures that were sent, but only she sent one picture. So the rest were from you then. He's like, well, no, just two. That's a bunch. So three is a bunch. Three is a few, not a bunch. This guy's fucking lying. So what prompted the pictures? Well, we talked about the gym. I sent a pic of my shirt off. Okay. The guys are like, oh my God. But we were not together, me and Taylor. That's the point. It's not about whether or not you guys were together. It's about the fact that this girl took the opportunity as soon as you weren't together when she's a family friend to hit on her family friend's ex-boyfriend and father of her child. Anyways, then that girl freaked out and said, delete things, delete things. And Taylor's like, let me go out there. I've had enough. She does, and she says, so no, please keep up with your lies. And he says, with all the balls in the world, this guy says, you look pretty. Shut the fuck up. You don't get to say whether or not this girl is pretty. You lost the privilege. Poke his eyes out. Anyway, Stassi says, well, you told Jordan because you knew it was wrong. So what are you defending? Smartest thing this girl said so far. He's like, I feel like you're only here to apologize because you have no new info. Well, I mean, I did. It was over exaggerated. And Taylor says, you cheated on me. And he says, oh, so it's okay for you to fuck some guy and then come fuck me? I'm sorry, what? The fuck? First of all, even if she did, she's Taylor Freaky Paul. She can do whatever the fuck she wants. She can do no wrong. But what? And Taylor says, we do not talk to her, meaning Mrs. Robinson. My whole family disowned her. So did you apologize to her parents? He says that he did. And she's like, yeah, while threatening them. Then he says, yeah, you should tell your boyfriend how you were sexting me last night. I don't believe that for a second. But she says, I don't have a boyfriend. And or sorry, that's not show, I think. And then they will show the receipts and all of this. Like, gosh, but he never does. It's because he's lying. Everyone came out at this point. Brett says, Miranda, I want to apologize for calling you white trash that time. We saw the clip. It was unacceptable. Miranda says, listen, Not saying it's not genuine, but your timing of the apology is unfortunate, but appreciated. Thank you very much. It's true. I do have to admit, he could have apologized to her after the fact, right after. He didn't have to do it now here on television. But anyways, let's go back to Dakota because apparently we're not done with him. I fucked up. I knew I would lose you guys. I think I numbed out a little bit. We weren't in a good place. I'm truly sorry because it caused a lot of pain. I don't expect forgiveness. Shut the fuck up, you imbecile. Leanne says, I don't understand why. It bugs me that you fall in love with the idea of you and you're not that person. She's like, at first going to be hurt, but you're a guy by your guy's decision. But back up, Leanne, back up. You had me until you want to rope Taylor into the shit. Taylor didn't do shit. Taylor didn't do shit. Mrs. Robinson and Dakota did. So Taylor didn't do no wrong. Anyways, Dad is like, I don't believe anything that comes out of your mouth. Taylor is like, the last reunion, he's crying and shit. I won't lie anymore. I said it all. Meanwhile, he was lying. Going forward, Taylor says, I blame myself because I chose him to be Ever's dad. And he freaks out. Oh, I'm not a good father to him. Blah, blah. No, that's not what she said. She's literally saying, I made this decision for this person to be my child's father. And now we have a broken home. That's all she's saying. Jordan says, I have seen him be a dad, and he's a great dad. And as I said, Taylor says, I said it's on me. What he's not understanding is it's not about him. It's about her and this patriarchy shit that they deal with in the Mormon church. So, yeah. But that's a wrap on season 3 reunion, y'all. Not much to really talk about because this episode was a little dull, a little boring. Talked about it a little longer than I thought I actually would. But anyways, don't know when season 4 is coming. I don't know what we'll expect with season 4 with the Whitney, for example, because she's killing it right now. But yeah, season 4 I'm sure will come soon. But until then, though, we are going to probably have Bachelorette before we do that. And I can't wait. I'm so excited. March is around the corner. It's not too far off. About 2 months from the time you're hearing this. But yeah, that is it, y'all. That is it for this episode. If you liked what you heard, bear with me because I have not done an outro for the podcast in quite some time. So bear with me here. So if you liked what you heard, you can go to any of your favorite podcast apps. You can follow, make sure you don't miss a single episode. And you can also rate the podcast at either Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It'd be greatly appreciated. As a reminder, any 5-star ratings that are given to the podcast or any comments that are given to the podcast will be read on the podcast, which I have done in the past. If you want to connect with the podcast through social media, you can find me at Facebook and Instagram at realityt2. You can also find me at Twitter, TikTok, and Blue Sky at realityt2pod. I believe you can email me at realityt2 at hotmail.com, and you can have any inquiries, anything like that, any ideas, any shows or episodes you want me to cover, you can definitely do that over there. And I am going back to our old website, and that is at solo.to/realityt2. there you can get any of the links to anything that I didn't mention here, any of the socials, website, email, all of that. It's all there for you. And we also have a new thing there where you can help support the podcast as well. It's called a tip jar. And you could tip whatever your heart's desire if you want to support the podcast, but don't want to necessarily support the podcast in going to Patreon, for example, or any of the links in any of the advertisements. You can do it there. But since we're on the topic of Patreon, you can head on over to patreon.com/reality tea times two, where there you can get access to even more than what I do here. There are 3 different tiers where you can get these shows ad-free, as well as our next tier up where you would get another reality show that's being covered. So, we have Jersey Shore that's been getting covered. That's still being covered currently at the time of recording of this outro, but the future is bright with what's to come in the future, which I will be discussing, or I have discussed. I don't even know. And then also our next tier is a true crime tier as well. So you can definitely head over for that. But that is basically it. I will also just quickly mention here too, if you're interested in a different take of a podcast that I'm a part of, we do things a little differently. You can head on over to Next Take Podcast, where I usually drop bonus episodes here on this feed, but there you get a lot more. And that podcast is making changes. We're growing, doing new things, but you can definitely head on over there if you want to just hear a little bit different than what I do over here. So you can find that podcast over at our website, solo.to/next take podcast. And there we'll have all the links to your desire that will link you to any of your favorite podcast apps or YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of it. Social medias, it's all over there. But of course, you can still find that podcast at any of your favorite podcast apps. But that is it for this episode. We'll see you next time with another episode. Bye, everybody.